The refugee station was quiet, yet danger lived in every shadow. Broken ships floated around the orbit, their lights weak like dying stars. Humans and aliens walked in silence, hiding their fear, hiding their pain. The war had taken too much. Already, among the crowd, a soldier walked alone. He was tired, scarred, and full of questions about why the war still continued. He thought this night would be like all the others. Another night of hunger, another night of sorrow. But then he heard a voice, soft and trembling. "Human," the voice said. He turned, and there she was. An alien woman, tall, with silver skin and eyes that looked older than time. Her clothes were torn, her hands shaking, yet her voice carried strange strength. "Rent me for one night," she whispered. The soldier froze. At first he thought he heard wrong, but she repeated, her eyes never leaving his. "Rent me only for one night." The air around him felt heavy. Was this a trap? A test? Or something far darker? Many refugees here would sell anything to survive, even their own pride. But this was different. Her words carried a strange weight. Like they were not only about survival. He tried to walk away, yet something about her held him. "Why me?" he asked, his voice low. She looked down, her voice breaking. "Because no one else will, no one dares. Not after what I lost." He saw pain in her eyes, pain that no lie could fake. Still, his soldier's mind warned him. This could be dangerous. She could be working for the enemy. But his human heart whispered, "She is alone. She is broken." The silence between them grew long. She stepped closer. "You do not understand," she said, her eyes wet with hidden tears. "My mate is gone, my family gone, my people hunted. I have nothing left, but I cannot let my line end. Not like this." Her voice shook, but her gaze was strong. "One night. That is all I ask?" The soldier's chest tightened. This was not about desire, this was about survival, about legacy. He had seen many strange things in war, but never this. A widow asking for life from the enemy who once fought her kind. He tried to laugh, but the sound died in his throat. "What if I say no?" he asked. Her answer was cold. "Then I will vanish, like the rest of my people, forgotten, gone forever." For a long moment he said nothing. He watched the crowd pass them by, none paying attention. The station was full of beggars, but her offer was not begging, it was something deeper, something heavier. Finally he nodded, not in agreement, but in curiosity. "One night," he said. "Nothing more." Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Thank you." She led him through narrow corridors. The station lights flickered, the walls smelled of rust and smoke. Every corner felt unsafe. Every sound made his hand move closer to his weapon. Yet she walked ahead without fear, as if she had already lost everything else worth fearing. They entered a small room. The door closed behind them with a weak hiss. Inside there was nothing but a bed, a broken lamp, and silence. She turned to him slowly. "This is not about your body, human," she said. "It is about trust. It is about memory. It is about tomorrow." Her words confused him. He expected something simple, but this night was not simple. She wanted more than just one night of warmth. She wanted hope. They sat in silence, the soldier watching her. Her hands trembled as she held a small pendant close to her chest. "This belonged to my mate," she whispered. "He died in the fire. I lived, but his memory burns in me." She looked at him, her eyes searching for something he could not name. "Will you carry a piece of him forward?" The soldier's breath caught. He was no longer sure if this was mercy or madness, but he stayed because leaving now felt like betrayal. Her pain reached him in ways no weapon ever could. The night passed with whispers, not passion. They spoke of war, of death, of the stars they once loved. Her voice cracked many times, yet she held on. He listened, though he did not understand half her words. But he stayed. At last, silence fell. She lay beside him, her silver eyes closed, as if she had found peace for the first time. He stared at the ceiling, his mind heavy with questions. What had he agreed to? Why him? And what did she truly want from this one night? When morning came, the room was empty. She was gone. But on his skin, just above his heart, was a strange mark, glowing faintly like fire under ice. He touched it, fear and wonder mixing. Inside him, her words echoed in his mind. One night, that is all I ask. But the soldier knew deep inside. This was only the beginning. The soldier woke with a start. The bed was empty. The cold sheets proved she had left before the first light. For a moment he thought it was only a strange dream. But then his hand touched his chest and he felt the mark, glowing faint like fire buried in ice. His heart pounded. He tried to wipe it away, but the mark stayed. It burned softly, not painful, but alive, he whispered to himself. What did you do to me? The station outside was restless. Sirens howled in the distance, rumors spread of enemy ships moving closer. Everyone whispered of raids, of captures, of death waiting in the dark. The soldier moved through the corridors, searching for her. Every shadow felt heavy. Every eye watched him with suspicion. He asked a traitor if he had seen the alien widow. The traitor only laughed. Many widows here human, but some ghosts walk faster than the living. Still, the soldier could not leave. Something inside him told him this night was not finished. He remembered her trembling voice, her haunted eyes, her desperate offer, and now the mark on his chest whispered that her story was far from over. Hours passed. He tried to rest, but whispers filled his ears. Not voices around him, but something softer, something inside his mind. It was her voice, faint as wind through broken glass. Do not run. Do not fear. Stay. He sat up quickly, sweat dripping from his forehead. The room was empty, yet the voice had been real. He touched the mark again, and it pulsed beneath his fingers. It was like her presence had never truly left. That night, the soldier heard a knock on the door. He reached for his weapon, his heart ready for violence. The door opened slowly, and there she was, the alien widow, silver skin shining under weak light, eyes tired but sharp. You stayed, she whispered, almost in relief. He wanted to shout, to demand answers, but the words stuck in his throat. She stepped inside, closing the door behind her. This night is not over, human. It never ended. Her eyes carried secrets. She moved to the corner of the room, sat down, and pulled the pendant from her chest again. I told you one night, but I lied, she confessed, her voice breaking. It was never about one night, it was about survival, it was about tomorrow. The soldier's fists tightened. You tricked me, he said, his voice sharp. She lowered her head, tears glistening. Yes, but not for harm. I swear it. I had no choice. No one else would listen. No one else would carry the burden. The mark on his chest burned brighter as she spoke. What is this? He demanded, pulling at his shirt to show the glowing scar. Her eyes widened, fear and hope mixing together. It means the bond has started, she whispered. It means you are tied to me, to my blood, to my future. The soldier stepped back, his mind racing. This is madness, he growled. I did not agree to this. But her voice rose, desperate and shaking. You agreed when you stayed, you agreed when you did not walk away. Outside, alarms suddenly blared. The station shook as if struck by invisible thunder. People screamed in the halls, running for cover. The soldier grabbed his weapon, his instincts screaming danger. What now? He hissed. She stood, her eyes hard with sudden resolve. They have come, she said. The hunters, the ones who do not forgive my kind, the ones who would kill us both. Her voice carried no doubt, only grim truth. The soldier's chest burned as if the mark itself warned him of the danger. He pushed open the door, the corridor filled with panic. Families ran, soldiers armed themselves, smoke and sparks rained from the ceiling. The widow gripped his arm, stronger than he expected. You cannot leave me now, you cannot leave us. He wanted to resist, to break away, to run back to his own people, but something deeper held him still. The mark pulsed with heat. His heart echoed with her silent voice. "Stay," it whispered, soft but unbreakable. The soldier cursed under his breath. "This was supposed to be one night," he muttered. Her silver eyes locked on his, filled with fire and sorrow. "One night was never enough," she said. The corridor shook again, the lights shattered, soldiers shouted warnings. "Enemy patrol in the docking ring, they've broken through," blaster fire echoed. Explosions shook the walls. The soldier raised his weapon. Instincts, taking control. The widow leaned close, her voice barely a breath. "They will not stop until they find me, until they find us." The mark on his chest flared like burning coal. He realized then, her enemies were now his enemies too. The soldier looked down the corridor, smoke thick, shadows moving. He knew he could walk away, let her face her fate alone. But something inside him would not allow it. He tightened his grip on his weapon, the mark burning like a brand of fate. The widow's whisper reached his ear. "Protect me, and I will give you truth." The soldier's jaw clenched, his heart heavy. He gave a slow nod, though doubt tore at him. And as enemy soldiers turned the corner, their weapons glowing red, he realized this night was only the beginning of a war he never asked for. But now he was already part of it. The soldier had thought the battle on the station was the end. He had fought side by side with the alien widow, protecting her from hunters who spilled through the docking ring. They had escaped in chaos, smoke covering their path. Yet that night had only planted the seed of a secret he could not yet understand. Weeks turned into months. He tried to return to his unit, to bury the memory of her and the strange glowing mark. But the whispers would not leave his mind. Every night in his dreams, he heard her voice, soft and close, as if she still lay beside him. "Stay. Don't leave. We are not done." He cursed himself. He cursed her name. Yet the mark burned whenever danger was near. It warned him. It guided him. And deep inside he knew he had been changed. Still, he fought against the truth. He was a soldier, not a savior, not a mate for a dying race. Then one day, in the middle of a silent camp, he saw her again. She walked out of the shadows as if she had always been waiting. Her silver skin shone under the firelight. Her eyes filled with sorrow and strength. And in her arms, she carried more than memory. She carried life. His breath stopped. She looked at him, her voice trembling. "You left me," she whispered. "But you could not leave what you gave me." She pulled her robe aside, and there it was, her stomach full and round, carrying a child not yet born. The soldier staggered back, his heart hammering. "No," he muttered. "That is impossible." Her gaze cut deep into him. "It is not impossible, human. It is truth, your truth and mine. This child grows because of you." Silence fell heavy between them. The campfire crackled, and the soldier's hands shook as he tried to make sense of it. Half human, half alien. A creature that should not exist. A creature that soldiers would call an abomination. Yet in her eyes he saw no shame, only fierce protection. "They will hunt us," he said at last, his voice low and broken. "They already are," she answered. "And they will never stop. Not until we are both gone, not until the child is gone." Her arms tightened around her belly, as if she could shield the unborn life from the entire universe. Her whisper carried both fear and fire. "That is why you must protect us." The soldier turned away, his mind a storm. He had fought wars, lost friends, buried his own family under fire and ash. He had sworn never to carry another burden heavier than his own survival. But now fate dragged him into a war that was not only of guns and ships, but of blood and destiny. He wanted to shout, to deny it, to run. But the mark on his chest burned hot as a star, and he knew the bond had spoken before his mouth ever could. "You carry my line now," she said, her eyes locked on him. "You may deny me, but you cannot deny what grows inside me." That night, danger returned faster than thought. Bounty hunters stormed the camp, their faces hidden behind black helmets, their weapons ready. The soldier acted before he could think, pulling her behind the broken walls, firing at the shadows. Bolts of red light lit the darkness, screams filled the air. The widow held her stomach. Her teeth gritted, but her eyes never closed. "Do not let them take me," she begged, her voice raw. The soldier fired again and again, each shot burning like a choice he could never escape. He had once fought only for his people, but now he fought for something stranger, something far more fragile. The hunters shouted, calling her name, calling the unborn child a curse. The soldier realized then, it was not just survival, it was extermination. They wanted no hybrid life to exist. They wanted to erase even the chance of it. He pulled her into the woods, smoke chasing them, the hunters close behind. Her steps faltered, her breath heavy, the weight of new life slowing her down. He supported her with one arm, firing with the other. Every step felt like dragging both of them deeper into a storm without end. Then, in the darkest hour of their escape, the soldier heard something that froze his blood. It was not her voice, not her breath, not her cry. It was a whisper, inside his mind, soft, young, and unformed. "Father." He stumbled, his weapon nearly falling from his hands. The widow looked at him, tears streaming, her lips trembling. "You heard it," she said, not asking but knowing. The soldier shook his head in disbelief, but the voice came again, faint, yet clear. "Do not let them kill me, Father." The soldier's heart thundered. This was no dream, no trick. The unborn child had spoken, through thought, through bond, through blood. He stared at the widow, at her silver eyes shining with both terror and hope. "You see now," she whispered, her voice breaking. "This life is more than me, more than you. This life is something new, something they fear." The soldier raised his weapon again, his breath steady despite the storm inside him. For the first time, he did not feel alone in the dark. As hunters closed in, their voices promising death. The soldier stood taller, the mark on his chest burning like fire across his skin. The unborn whispered again, stronger this time. "Protect us, Father." And with that whisper, the soldier knew the truth. There was no turning back. He would either fight for them, or watch the only piece of tomorrow he had left burn before his eyes. The forest stretched like a dark ocean, branches cracked under every hurried step. The soldier held his weapon tight, guiding the alien widow through the endless night. Her breath came heavy, her hands clutched her swollen belly, but she refused to slow down. Behind them, hunters screamed orders, their boots pounding the earth, searchlights cut through the trees. Like blades, every shadow felt alive, every sound carried death. The child inside her whispered again, faint but clear. "They are close." The soldier stopped, heart pounding. He scanned the darkness, his instincts sharp from years of war. Yes, the voice was right. Movement stirred in the trees. Too quick, too many. The hunters were not giving up. "We cannot keep running," he muttered. The widow's eyes glowed faint in the dark, filled with fear and resolve. "We must, for the child," she said, her voice trembling but strong. The soldier clenched his jaw, knowing she was right, knowing time was their enemy. They ran again, weaving through branches, slipping across wet stones. The forest seemed endless, but the hunters were trained, relentless. Blaster shots cracked behind them, burning holes into trees, lighting the night with fire. The soldier fired back. Short bursts, enough to slow them, never enough to stop them. He pulled her into a ravine, water rushing cold around their feet. The widow stumbled, nearly falling, but the soldier caught her. Her body was shaking, her face pale. "The child," she whispered. "It grows faster, it drains my strength." The soldier's heart clenched. He wanted to scream at fate, to demand why this burden was placed on him, but there was no time for questions, only survival. He tightened his grip on her arm, pulling her forward. Hours blurred into one another. The forest turned into open plains, the night sky burning with enemy flares. Ships circled above, scanning, with beams of white light searching for prey. The soldier's mark burned hotter with every pass, guiding him where to hide, where to run. At dawn, they found an old ruin, broken stone walls from a forgotten age. They hid inside, the air heavy with dust and silence. The widow sank against a wall, clutching her stomach. The soldier knelt beside her, watching her breathe, his mind racing. "This will kill you," he whispered, his voice rough. She opened her eyes slowly, her silver gaze sharp. "It will not kill me. It will change me," she said. Her trembling hand touched his chest where the glowing mark burned through cloth. "And it is already changing you." The soldier flinched, but did not pull away. Her words were truth, even if he hated them. He was no longer only a soldier of war. He was bound to something bigger, something fragile, something forbidden. The unborn life tied them together. Before he could answer, the sound of boots filled the ruin. The hunters had tracked them. Shadows moved across the broken walls. The widow's breath caught, fear tightening her body. The soldier raised his weapon, every nerve on fire. Shots cracked, stone shattered, the ruin filled with fire and dust. The soldier fought like a storm, his training turning him into steel. But there were too many, too fast. A blast struck the ground beside them, throwing them both down. The widow cried out, clutching her stomach. The soldier's blood ran cold, crawling to her side. "Stay with me," he begged, his voice breaking. But before she could speak, the world froze. A wave of unseen force exploded outward. Hunters screamed, their weapons ripped from their hands, their bodies hurled into the air. The ruin shook as if the sky itself had opened, and then silence fell. The soldier turned, wide-eyed. It was not him. It was not her. It was the unborn child, glowing inside her with a light that made the air tremble. The child's voice echoed in his skull, louder than ever before. "Protect us or all will burn." The hunters staggered back to their feet, terrified now, whispering of abomination, of curse, of doom. Some fled into the trees, but others steadied, their weapons. The soldier knew this was only the beginning of the hunt. The child had revealed itself, and now every hunter in the galaxy would come. He pulled the widow to her feet, her eyes wide with shock and fear. "What happened?" she gasped. "You already know," he answered, his voice shaking. It was the child. She clutched her belly, tears streaming down her silver cheeks. "It is stronger than I dreamed, stronger than they will ever allow." The soldier gritted, his teeth. "We need to move, we need to get far from here." But even as he spoke, the mark on his chest flared hotter than ever. Not a warning, but a call, the bond pulling him toward something unseen. The widow's hand tightened on his arm. "They will never stop," she said, her voice breaking. "They will hunt us until the stars themselves fall." Her words were heavy, but she was right. This was no longer just survival, this was war. The soldier looked at her, at the life she carried, at the fire in her eyes. He thought of his past, his battles, the graves he had left behind, and he knew. This fight was no longer about his people or hers. It was about the child who had chosen him. The ruin shook again as ships roared overhead, their shadows swallowing the ground. The soldier raised his weapon, the widow holding. Close to him, the child whispered once more, its voice filled with strange calm. "Do not run, father. Fight." And as the hunters closed in from every side, the soldier realized there was no turning back. This was the hunt, and he was now the prey and the protector both. The ruin still smoked from battle. The soldier guided the alien widow through the rubble, her body weak, her unborn child glowing faintly inside her. Every step felt heavier, the air thick with the scent of ash and fear. But worse than the hunters chasing them was the silence between the two. He had seen the truth with his own eyes. The child inside her was not only alive, it was powerful, far beyond anything he could understand. It had thrown men into the air without touch, had spoken into his mind like it lived outside of time. It was no ordinary life, and that truth frightened him more than enemy fire ever had. As they reached the broken edge of the forest, the widow stopped. Her silver eyes stared at him, heavy with guilt. "There is something I never told you," she whispered. The soldier froze, his hand tightening on his weapon. Her words came, like a blade. It was never about one night, human. It was always about forever. The world seemed to tilt beneath him. He remembered her trembling request, her desperate offer, her lies wrapped in half-truths. His chest burned where the mark glowed, proof of the bond he never chose. "You used me," he said, his voice sharp and cold. Her lips trembled, but she did not deny it. "Yes, I used you, but not for greed, not for power, for survival." His anger boiled. "You should have told me," he growled. "I could not," she answered, tears streaking her pale face. "If I told you the truth, you would have run, and then my line would die with me." Her words were heavy with sorrow, yet they cut him deeper than any enemy blade. The silence stretched, but it shattered when the air filled with the sound of engines. Dozens of armored soldiers dropped from ships, surrounding the ruins like vultures around a corpse. The widow gasped, clutching her belly. The soldier raised his weapon, but it was useless, and there were too many. A voice echoed through the ruins, cold and sharp. "Surrender the abomination, human, and we will let you live." The soldier's chest tightened. The hunters did not call it a child, not even a hybrid. To them it was only a curse, something to erase. He looked at the widow, trembling, her eyes begging. "You must not let them take us," she whispered. The soldier clenched his weapon tighter, but even his war-trained mind knew the truth. He could not win this battle, not against so many. The hunters closed in, their rifles glowing red. The soldier fired anyway, his shots desperate, his fury burning. But within moments they struck him down. Pain ripped through his body as he hit the ground, his weapon torn from his hands. The widow screamed his name. They dragged her away, their boots heavy, their voices cruel. One hunter pressed, a blade against her neck, while another placed a hand against her swollen belly. "Kill it now," the leader ordered. "End the sickness before it spreads." The soldier's blood boiled, his body weak, his vision blurry. But then he heard it. A whisper, soft yet stronger than steel. It was the unborn child speaking again inside his mind. "Do not fear, father. I will protect her." The air grew heavy. The ground began to tremble. The hunters froze, their weapons shaking, their helmets buzzing with static. The widow cried out, her body glowing as light poured from her belly like liquid fire. Then the impossible happened. Every soldier around them screamed, dropping their weapons, their helmets cracked, their bodies collapsed to the ground as if crushed by invisible hands. The ruins shook as stones split and dust rained from the sky. The soldier crawled to his knees, his heart frozen in awe and fear. The widow lay on the ground, gasping for breath, her hands still gripping her belly. Her eyes met his, shining with both terror and hope. "You see now," she whispered. "Our child is no curse. It is something new, something greater." Her words trembled, but her gaze burned with fire. The soldier staggered forward, pulling her close. But inside him, a war raged. Was this child a miracle, or was it a weapon that could burn the universe itself? His mind screamed doubt, but his heart whispered truth. Before he could speak, the sound of more engines thundered above. Ships descended, far larger than before, their shadows drowning the ruins. This time it was not hunters. It was soldiers, from his own people. The emblem of his army burned on their armor, their weapons aimed at him. The commander's voice boomed through the air. "Step aside, soldier. Hand over the alien and the unborn, and we will forgive your crime." The widow's breath caught, her eyes wide with horror. The soldier's blood ran cold. He was trapped between two worlds. His people demanded loyalty, the widow demanded protection, and the unborn child, glowing with silent power, demanded destiny. The mark on his chest burned brighter than ever. Tearing his soul between choice and betrayal, the commander's voice thundered again. "Choose, soldier, your people, or the alien curse." The soldier's weapon shook in his hands, his mind a storm of rage and confusion. And as the silence stretched, the widow whispered only one word, trembling, desperate. "Please." The soldier stood frozen between two armies. Behind him, the alien widow clutched her stomach, her silver eyes wide with fear. Before him, his own people raised, their weapons waiting for him to obey. The air was thick with smoke, ash, and the weight of impossible choice. His chest burned where the mark glowed. It pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat, stronger than ever. Every throb whispered a warning. Every flicker pulled him closer to the widow and her unborn child. Yet the voices of his commanders thundered. In his ears, demanding loyalty, demanding blood. The commander shouted again, his voice sharp as steel. "Hand them over, soldier, do your duty or fall as a traitor." The soldier's weapon shook in his hands, his breath heavy. He had faced death 100 times, but never like this, never when the battlefield was his own soul. The widow whispered weakly, her voice cracking, "They will kill us. They will kill the child. You must choose now." Her body trembled, every breath a battle, but her eyes still burned with fierce will, with faith that he would not abandon her. And then, like a shadow breaking into light, he heard it, a voice softer than wind, yet deeper than memory. The unborn child spoke again, not faint, not distant, but strong and clear inside his mind. "Do not leave us, Father. Stay, stay forever." The soldier staggered, his knees nearly giving way. The words echoed through him, shaking his bones, piercing his soul. He turned to the widow, but she had not spoken. Her lips were silent. No, the whisper had come from the life inside. Her a voice that was not yet born, yet already alive. His people saw his hesitation and their guns clicked, ready to fire. "Stand aside now," the commander roared, "or you will die with them." The soldier's chest burned hotter, the mark blazing as if the unborn's words fed it fire. "Stay forever," the voice whispered again, rapping. His heart in chains he could not break. He looked into the widow's eyes, silver glowing with tears. She whispered with trembling lips, "Please do not abandon us. I cannot fight alone." The soldier's weapon steadied, his breathing slowed. He had been a warrior all his life, loyal to orders, loyal to survival. But in this moment, loyalty to his people meant betrayal of his own blood. The commander gave the final order. "Kill them all," he said, his voice cold as the void. Guns roared, fire blazed, the ruins shook with death, but the soldier moved faster, standing before the widow, shielded by the burning mark across his chest. Blaster bolts struck him, yet none pierced. The mark glowed, brighter, brighter, until the light blinded every eye. An invisible shield spread around them, born from the bond, born from the child. The commander shouted in disbelief, "What trick is this?" The soldier raised his weapon and fired back, his shots stronger, faster, guided by unseen hands. His own people fell, screaming, their weapons failing, their armor cracked. The widow gasped, holding her stomach, her body glowing faint as if the child's power flowed through her too. The unborn whispered again, voice calm in the storm, "Fight, Father. Protect us. Stay with us." When the dust cleared, the ruins were silent. Bodies lay scattered. Smoke. Rising from broken weapons, the commander himself crawled, his eyes wide with fear as he stared at the soldier. "You are no longer one of us," he spat, blood dripping from his lips. "You are cursed, bound to a monster." The soldier walked closer, his face grim, his voice cold. "No, I am bound to life, something you will never understand." The commander's eyes narrowed, hate burning even as his strength faded. "Then you are already dead," he hissed, before collapsing into silence. The widow trembled, leaning against the soldier. Her strength was fading, her body weak. "The child, it grows too fast," she whispered, her voice breaking. "He is not ready, but he pushes forward. He wants to be born too soon." The soldier lifted her gently, carrying her through the ruins. The night sky above burned with more ships, more enemies closing in, but his heart no longer doubted. No longer wavered. The unborn voice echoed again, soft as a prayer, strong as a vow. "Do not fear, Father, I will stay with you, if you stay with us." The soldier's chest ached, not from wounds, but from truth. He had lived his life fighting wars without purpose, bleeding for orders that changed nothing. But now, for the first time, he fought not for command, not for survival, but for family, a family he never asked for yet could not walk away from. They reached a ruined city at dawn, its towers broken, its streets empty. The widow gasped, clutching her belly, her knees buckling. The soldier held her close, fear gripping him tighter than any battle ever had. "Hold on," he begged. "I will not let you go." Her silver eyes locked onto his, filled with fire and pain. "You must promise me," she whispered, her breath weak. "Promise you will. Never leave us, not now, not ever." The soldier's throat tightened, his chest burning with the bond, and as the child whispered again inside his mind, "Stay forever," the words filled with light and power. The soldier bowed his head, whispering to both mother and unborn, "I will never leave." But above them, the city shook as new shadows fell. Dozens of warships descended, hunters and soldiers both united in one cause, to erase them. The soldier raised his weapon, the widow clutched his hand, and the unborn's voice whispered once more, calm and clear, "Then let us fight." Together, the ruined city groaned under the weight of war. Broken towers leaned like dying giants, their shadows long in the morning light. The soldier stood among the shattered streets, the alien widow at his side, her swollen belly glowing with life. Above them, dozens of warships darkened the sky, their engines roaring like thunder. The hunter legions had not given up, and now human soldiers joined them too. Different armies, once enemies of each other, now united against one thing, the unborn child. To them, it was not life but threat, not future but curse, and they would rather burn the world than let it live. The widow gripped his hand, her voice trembling. "They have come together because they fear us." Her breath was sharp, every word breaking into gasps. "The child pushes harder. He wants to be born now." The soldier's heart raced. He looked at her pale face, at her body straining against impossible life. How could she survive a birth so sudden, so unnatural, with enemies closing in from every side? His chest burned where the mark glowed, as if the unborn was calling him to decide. The voice came again, stronger now, filling his skull. "Father, do not run. Do not fear. Protect us." The soldier staggered, gripping his head. The voice was not only inside him, it was all around him, echoing in the stones, in the wind, in the ruins themselves. The armies advanced, weapons ready. The commander of the hunters raised his arm, his voice cold. "Give up the alien, soldier, give up the child, or we will bury you in this city." And from the other side, the commander of the humans echoed the same. "Do your duty. End this curse. Save your own kind." The soldier's weapon trembled in his hands. Two armies, two orders, one choice. Behind him, the widow cried out, falling to her knees, her body shaking with pain. The child was coming, too early, too powerful. She looked up at him, tears on her silver cheeks. "Please," she whispered. "Choose us." The soldier's breath came heavy. He thought of every battle he had fought, every command he had obeyed, every life he had lost. He thought of the nights filled with nothing but survival, and the days filled with orders that turned to dust. And then he thought of this one night that became forever, this one widow, this one child, and he knew. He raised his weapon high. "I choose them," he shouted, his voice cutting through the storm. The armies roared in fury, their weapons firing, but the soldier stood firm, the mark blazing like fire across his chest. The light erupted from him, from the widow, from the unborn child. A shield of burning white stretched over the ruins, swallowing every blast. Soldiers screamed as their weapons melted. Hunters fell to their knees, blinded by power. The city itself trembled as the unborn released a wave of force that split the earth. The widow screamed, clutching her stomach, her body writhing with pain. "It is happening," she cried. "He is coming." The soldier fell beside her, holding her hand tight, his eyes never leaving her face. "Stay with me," he whispered. "I will not let you go." The armies tried to regroup, shouting orders, firing blindly into the shield. But the child's power grew stronger with every heartbeat. The soldier felt it in his blood, in his bones. In the air around him, the child's voice rang clear, no longer faint, no longer weak. "Father, protect her, protect me, fight with us." The widow's cry shook the air, and in that moment, the child was born. A burst of light filled the ruins, brighter than 1,000 suns. The soldiers outside screamed. Blinded, thrown back by the force, the soldier shielded the widow, his heart pounding, his chest burning with fire and awe. And then silence fell. In his arms lay the newborn, small yet glowing, eyes bright as stars. The child opened them for the first time, and the soldier felt his soul break and rebuild all at once. He heard the whisper, not inside his head this time, but from the tiny lips themselves. "Stay forever." Tears filled the soldier's eyes, his voice shaking as he whispered back, "I will, I swear it, I will stay forever." The widow looked at him, her silver eyes wet with tears, her body weak but alive. "You have chosen us," she whispered, "and in choosing us you have chosen tomorrow." Above them the armies lay broken, blinded, scattered. Ships fled into the sky. Hunters retreated into the forests. The curse they feared had become a light too bright to destroy. And the soldier, once only a fighter of forgotten wars, now stood as protector of something new. He cradled the child close, the widow leaning against him. The mark on his chest burned softer now, no longer pain but bond, no longer curse but vow. The city was still broken, the world still full of enemies, but within the ruins a new life had begun. The soldier lifted his head, staring at the fading armies. "Come again if you wish," he whispered coldly, "but you will never take them from me." The child's tiny hand gripped his finger, strong despite its size. The widow smiled weakly, her voice barely a breath. "We are no longer alone." And in that moment, with the ruins burning and the future uncertain, the soldier knew his choice was final. Not war, not orders, not survival, but family forever.